This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm answering your listener questions that were brought up during my last office hours session that I had in August. So today's question is, should I do a Roth conversion? Now, this question, there's a lot to it. Let's back up and talk about some of the benefits of the Roth. A lot of people have a lot of confusion because the Roth IRA has pretty low contribution thresholds. You can only contribute, I think right now the limit with catch-up is like 7,000 or 7,500. I probably should have looked this up before I started recording, but it's in that range. And so, that's a meaningful amount if you start early. But if you're considering Roth contributions, a lot of people are under the impression that not only are the contribution limits pretty low, if you're trying to really max out and save some serious money for retirement inside of a Roth, but there are also income limits as well. So once your income is over a certain threshold, and it varies based on whether you're married or not. But again, Google is your friend here. The income threshold, if you're making, let's say you're making enough money to max out your 401k every year, you can do, if you're over 50, in 2024, you can do just over $30,000 in your 401k. And if you're looking at a Roth IRA, your income might be too high. That $7,000 may not be as attractive, even if your income is not too high, just because it's a lower contribution threshold. So a lot of people don't even consider the Roth, but what they consider later are Roth conversions, where you take money that's in a 401k or in a traditional IRA, and then you start converting that money to Roth. Now, before we start thinking about conversions, you need to ask yourself, should I be making Roth contributions? Inside of a 401k or certain other retirement plan types have a Roth option. You can contribute that same $30,000. Well, actually, I don't know if you can do catch up in Roth. I have to look. Dang it, I should have looked these things up. I'm answering these questions on the fly though. But basically, you can max out your 401k contributions and there are no income limits, and you can do that in a Roth if your plan allows. So not every 401k plan has the Roth option, but most of them do. I want to say like 90% of them do. And there's no income limits. So you could be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company and max out your Roth 401k contributions. Again, there are other plan types too that allow for Roth contributions. So you just have to research that if you don't have access to a 401k. So the first thing we want to look at is contributions. Can I make contributions to a Roth, especially inside of a 401k? If you can, I would do that first. Just obviously, if you're retired, you can no longer do that. But if you're still working, can you make Roth 401k contributions? And if the answer is yes, then I would look at that first before you start considering conversions. The problem with a Roth conversion, and the current tax law allows you to do an unlimited amount. So a really popular strategy, let's say you have $500,000 in a IRA account, all in traditional IRA, nothing in Roth. The problem is once you get to your age where you have to start taking required minimum distributions, which is sometime, depending on the year you were born, between your early to mid 70s. The problem is you have to start taking money out every single year, and you have to pay taxes on that. If you have been a diligent saver and you have a lot of your retirement nest egg tied up in a IRA or 401k, you're going to be blindsided. It's a pretty big slap in the face once those contributions start. A lot of people are not really prepared for it, and it hurts because you have to pay taxes on that. You have to claim that money as income, and you're mandated to take that money out. So a popular strategy, what many people will do, and I certainly am an advocate for this, but I would want to do Roth contributions before conversions. Again, to save you from paying all that tax money up front. Because what happens when you do a Roth conversion, let's say you have that same $500,000 inside of a Roth or inside of a traditional IRA or 401k. And let's say you want to convert half of it to Roth. So you could do that over several years. So let's say you do $50,000 a year for 5 years. That'll get you to $250,000 in a Roth and effectively move about half of that money. Okay, so every year for 5 years, you convert $50,000, claim that $50,000 as part of your income, you pay the taxes on it, and now the money is in your Roth and it can grow tax free. So I like this idea. I think it fits for people who retire before they reach their required minimum distribution age. It works if your income is going to be lower, because the tax rate on that conversion won't be as high. It's a sort of it's a very case by case, year by year decision. Should I do a Roth conversion this year? If so, what's the tax rate going to be? What's the amount of tax I'm going to pay on the converted amount? What's that going to do to my overall income? How is that going to affect other things? Your income and what your taxable income is affects all kinds of other things too, like taxes on Social Security. It affects Medicare and premiums, things like that. So you want to be careful about this because it really does have a ripple effect on other things as well. Lastly, the thing I want to mention about conversions is it is a desirable thing to do from an estate planning perspective if you're thinking that far ahead, because your spouse, they will inherit either asset and not have any tax liability. But fast forward to if you're not married or after you and your spouse die, if that money is going to your kids and it's in a Roth, they don't have to pay any taxes on that money when they pull it out. Whereas in a traditional IRA or traditional 401k, they will owe taxes and they'll be subject to the 10-year rule, which says they have to take all the money out. So if you expect to have a large IRA balance, 401k balance at the time of you and or your spouse's death, you are giving your kids a ginormous tax bill. So that would be another reason to potentially look at Roth conversions. So again, a lot of gray area here. I do like the idea of a Roth in general and having some money in Roth and being diversified there. I prefer it being through Roth contributions that you make while you're still working, ideally to a 401k. I'd like that more than doing conversions and writing big checks to Uncle Sam because you have to pay the taxes on that converted amount. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips, although not always super quick. Today it's a little bit long. Quick Tips podcast.